The biggest person missing here is Christina Karam.
He was making bizarre claims, like he was Diddy's sex slave, and that Diddy had forced him to have sex with his girlfriend, Cassie.
Diddy allegedly, and his son allegedly, shoot some guy in a bathroom. There are some major dogs that are not barking.
What if the biggest names connected to Diddy's trial are the ones no one is talking about? Candace Owens says she's uncovered a shocking omission that changes everything. Stay tuned as we reveal who's mysteriously missing and why. Their absence could be the key to the entire case.
Sex slave. I had sex with Cassie and Sean.
He was making bizarre claims, like he was Diddy's sex slave, and that Diddy had forced him to have sex with his girlfriend, Cassie, and that he had contracted an STD from them and then had sued. And then he also talks about, like, the Black Boule and the Illuminati playing cards, and he's like,
relationship between Diddy and Cassie ended up being verified and true and sounded insane at that time. He also says that Diddy's a member of the Black Illuminati and that he would hear him on the phone discussing matters. And the biggest thing is saying that there's a hip hop agenda, and essentially they create these guys and enrich them, because really what they're doing, and in further parts of this video, on behalf of the feds, is that they're moving drugs throughout the United States.
Candace Owens recently dropped a bombshell on her podcast, and what she revealed has a lot of people asking hard questions about Diddy's trial. In the episode, she suggested that there are major players connected to Diddy who seem to be vanishing from the narrative. These aren't people with incidental ties or distant associations. They're individuals who, according to Owens, have been influential in shaping key aspects of his career and personal life. The fact that their names are absent from media reports and legal proceedings has raised serious questions for her. She broke it down simply. Why are these figures, with enough power and influence to potentially sway the entire industry, not being scrutinized alongside Diddy? Owens pointed out the glaring absence of certain executives and personalities who have operated behind the scenes during some of the most pivotal moments in Diddy's career. She described it as a selective silence in the media and claimed it wasn't accidental. When you start connecting the dots, she alleged, it's as if an invisible hand is erasing key details and redirecting the conversation where it's safest. Some of the connections she outlined run deep. Owens specifically mentioned individuals tied to major record labels and entertainment companies who have worked closely with Diddy over the years. She questioned why these partnerships, highly visible when it came to billion-dollar projects and cultural milestones, are now seemingly invisible. For instance, she brought up Diddy's involvement in past music ventures, where high-ranking executives profited enormously from the projects he led. Owens asked, why aren't they asked to explain their role in what went on behind those closed boardroom doors? She didn't stop there. She provided examples of times when these individuals vocally supported Diddy or appeared alongside him during notable industry events. It's interesting, she said, how these same people used to be faces in the crowd at his parties or front-row guests at his shows, but now they've completely slipped into the shadows. Her tone was sharp and focused as she added, people should be asking why no one wants to follow up with them. Surely they weren't just spectators. According to Owens, the absence of these names isn't just curious. It could point to larger forces at play. She raised concerns about potential efforts to shield certain individuals from scrutiny, possibly to protect personal reputations or major business entities connected to them. Her claims have since sparked a wave of speculation, with more people beginning to investigate past collaborations and relationships involving Diddy. One figure she did name was an executive she described as a long-standing influence in Diddy's career, someone who may hold crucial information. This isn't a trial about one man, Owens stated with determination. It's a layered story involving movers and shakers across industries. Whether this individual will face public or legal inquiry remains to be seen, but Owens expressed doubt that justice can truly be served without including such figures in the conversation. Still, Owens admitted that this isn't the full story. In the same podcast, she hinted that others might have more to say about the missing names. That's where comedian Theo Von enters the picture, bringing his own perspective and revelations to light, further deepening the intrigue around the trial and those connected to it.
She was all over the lawsuit, and you've had people since that have brought her up. And Skylar, I don't know, we actually wouldn't even be able to show that And again, this is all allegedly, but this was the Ghislaine Maxwell that was always at his side. It has been alleged by people who say that they were abused by Diddy, that she was allegedly placing IUDs in women. People that have accused him of like a very aggressive form of rape have accused her of being the person that made all this happen. In Little Rod's lawsuit, he was explicit in saying that she was the supplier of all the drugs. She's just gone. Like she's just, for some reason, they thought we have to take down Diddy. But it was very clear in Little Rod's lawsuit that Diddy was kept high intentionally because of her, because she was instructing people to keep him drugged, allegedly on this pink cocaine, and she's gone. Like I could not find a trace of this woman on the internet.
That if Diddy's throwing all these parties, Universal Music Group is in some way financially involved. But the lawsuit alleges that they're directly financially involved. And the lawsuit alleges that Lucien Grange frequently attended them and probably funded some of them, and certainly had secret meetings, or at least allegedly had secret meetings with Diddy frequently.
In his bedroom.
Yeah, in his bedroom for an hour or more.
Lucien Grange has been a very powerful figure for a very long time. Started as with a totally different name, by the way. I don't trust,
you're the one that put me on that rabbit hole.
I don't trust men that change their names, least of all 3 times, okay? A family that goes from Goldstein to G to Grange doesn't make sense to me. And you have him at the top of the food chain, heavily implied by Little Rod that they were allowing this to go on to get blackmail on certain people, and they just disappear him.
And I mean,
what's the logic here?
It's
no
understandable.
Evidence. There's tapes. Little Rod said there's nothing but tapes.
Tapes of everything.
And that Diddy was taping the people that were coming as well.
Yeah.
When he's mentioned in a Little Rod lawsuit as the fixer, to show you how extreme what he's being accused of is essentially he's the guy you call if you shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He intimates this scene in the lawsuit, Little Rod, where Diddy allegedly and his son allegedly shoot some guy in a bathroom. Little Rod is as this guy is bleeding out, cleaning up, trying to help this guy. He's very close or just outside of the bathroom. Little Rod might have been in the bathroom. And he knows that after Diddy and his son come up and shoot this guy, he's trying to apply pressure to the wound. And they know that you have to call this guy, and he'll get the correct person over at LAPD to come over, and they'll tell a lie. And he says that the next day the press ran a story that there was a drive-by shooting, and he's like, that's not what happened at all. And it made me really think about the book Chaos that so many people on my podcast have listened to and watched. I mean, I have listened to, and it's describing a corrupt LAPD with feds that are involved and know how to disappear certain things. And we know that to be factually true based on the Charles Manson murders. So this makes me super uncomfortable.
Theo Von isn't exactly the first name you'd expect to pop up in a conversation about Diddy's trial, but when he weighed in, his comments created even more chaos around the missing names Candace Owens highlighted. On a recent episode of his podcast, Theo joked about how big stories like this tend to shed a lot of light while keeping some people safely just out of frame. But beyond the humor, Theo appeared to back Owens' claims, suggesting that certain people connected to Diddy might be deliberately avoiding attention, or worse, being protected. He touched on a name that's lingered in the background of the entertainment world for years, someone who has quietly influenced deals, campaigns, and industry trends, and whose ties to Diddy have remained surprisingly unexamined. Without naming anyone outright. At first, Theo spoke about how certain power players often operate behind the scenes. It's not the loudest person in the room you got to watch for, he said. It's the guy who's too quiet to be noticed, hiding in the corner like a shadow, moving real slick. Many assumed he was referring to long-standing business executives who worked with Diddy on major projects, individuals who, according to past reports, were instrumental in catapulting Diddy's career to the highest echelons of fame and financial success. Theo passionately questioned why these figures haven't been pressed for insight or accountability. I don't think it's just one guy on trial, he said, lowering his voice for emphasis. You have a whole crew that helped build and protect a legacy. His tone shifted from playful to reflective as he continued, painting an image of an intricate network of influence and control operating far outside the public eye. Unlike Owens, whose presentation relied heavily on researched connections and industry analysis, Theo leaned into anecdotal experiences. He recalled hearing rumors in the entertainment circles he accesses as a comedian. There are whispers, he said vaguely, about deals that should have been blown up years ago. But they weren't, because someone, somewhere, made a problem go away. Now, I'm not saying I know specifics, but I do know there's something unsettling when certain names never seem to come up. While Theo's credibility on the matter doesn't carry the same weight as Owens's, his words struck a nerve, due to his earnest approach. As someone who's been in proximity to these worlds yet not embedded in them, he offers an outsider's raw take, one that resonates with everyday audiences who already suspect the case is more complicated than it seems. He admitted he had no intention of becoming the face of criticism, but his willingness to pose these questions publicly was enough to turn heads. So now the question isn't just about Diddy, it's about the silence, the shadows, and the names we aren't allowed to say out loud. As Candace Owens and Theo Von pull back the curtain, piece by piece, it's becoming harder to ignore the pattern. The powerful protect their own, and the public gets a carefully edited version of the truth. If the people behind the scenes helped build the empire, shouldn't they be sitting under the spotlight too? This isn't just celebrity gossip, it's a glimpse into how influence really works. And if these missing names stay missing, we might never get the full story. What do you think? Who's staying hidden? And why? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and most importantly, stay loud, because silence only protects the powerful.